Hello and welcome to another episode of the Scientist Hay Farmer. Today we're doing something very important, and that is checking and fixing the knotter stack end play on your balers and knotters. Our baler model today will be the New Holland 273, which I use as my backup. So let's first look at how to tell if you have excessive knotter stack end play, and then what you do to repair that. Excessive knotter stack end play is indicated by too much space between the face of your gears and the cam surface. And the way you test that is by taking a 9/16 inch wrench here and turning it counterclockwise to see just how much play you have. So if we go like this, that is, see all that? That is a lot of play in there. Let's come to this one and look at that. There's a mile of play in there. And I first noticed something was probably wrong when I came down and noticed how much play was on the billhook gear here. A ton. There's not a better way to blow up your knotters than have excessive end stack play. So fortunately it's an easy fix. You first loosen the clamp bolt right here. We're going to take a 3/4 inch wrench to do that. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Yeah, there is a cap bolt on the back, so I'm gonna have to put the phone down and do it with two hands and be right back. Okay, so I've got this loosened now for the clamp on the knotter. Next, we're gonna take a 9/16 bolt and remove this bolt on the end. There's going to be shims underneath here. We're going to remove some of those shims just a little bit at a time until we get the correction we need. So I'm going to pull it off and see, these are the shims right there. So I'm just going to, let's just remove one for starters and see where that gets us. Put this on, tighten it back down. What this is actually doing is when you're threading this bolt into the stack here, it's actually pulling it this way, and there's a shim taken out, so it allows it to pull it this way more. And I can just tell, I mean, these are still really loose, so I think we're gonna have to go more. Yeah. I'm gonna put the camera down and take out a few more shims, as you don't need to watch me do that since I just showed you how to do the first one, and then we'll check out what the result is. So I ended up taking one of these a big shim out and then putting two smaller shims back, and that seems to be just the ticket. So I put those back in here and tighten this down. I'm going to tighten this down a little more. Actually, it's pretty tight all the way. I did remove the pins here too, and by the way, you should use pins like these. Don't use bolts like these. And if you do have bolts, you do not want them bolted down tight. You want to have a lock nut on there because you want these to float. So now that I've gotten this tightened down, let's come back and check our end play. Remember what it was like before. See that now? There's very little in there, almost nothing. Check the other one. I'm having a really hard time holding my camera and keeping it in the picture for you. So we got nothing there either. I also went and checked this billhook pinion, and that is no longer really loose either. That could have been a problem because that bill hook could have jumped time with as loose as that was. This is really tight. So now we're going to lift these up, make sure they're not excessively tight or binding. I can't do this with just one hand holding it, but you're gonna lift this all the way up. Make sure you can rotate it all the way up with no binding. That one I might need to look at a little more. And this one here, same for that. Once you've adjusted the end play, if one of your knotters is tighter or binds up more, then tap the cam gear on the one that's too tight, like this, to free it up. And then go ahead and check it again. And you're really doing the tap on the side that's tight. If you've got a tight side that's a little tighter than the other, to help free it up and kind of center your knotter on the frame or the stack. I got them both adjusted to my liking now. I did put one shim back, so I just had to remove one small shim, and I got pretty much no play there or here. So I can rotate both knotters all the way up on the stack, and there's no binding that occurs with the exception of when the knife wiper is rubbing, or the wiper arm is rubbing on the bottom of the bill hook. So I'm going to tighten the clamp bolt back down, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the knotter through one cycle by hand, just to make sure nothing's rubbing or binding excessively where it shouldn't. That's about it. That's really all there is to it. It does show you how to do this in your book, specifically in your manual. Here's where it describes knotter end play right here. I'm going to pause that for a second just in case you want to do a screenshot. Just to show I'm not making this stuff up. Anyway, I think that's a wrap for today. Hopefully this was useful, and I'll see you next time.